to ensure that we're touching base with everybody to ensure that we're getting what you need. We think we're solving problems every day, but we may be solving the wrong problems in your mind. And that's why we wanted to invite the leadership from all of our veteran service organizations, as well as concerned veterans, to ensure that we're hearing your voice and that we're carrying the water on your behalf when we talk to our state legislators, as well as when we're talking to our federal congressional delegation as well, to ensure that we're tracking what's happening at the national level, how it impacts us in our state, and down to the individual community level within our state of New Mexico. Obviously, we're a very diverse state, huge geographic dispersion, and what's good for some may be a detriment for others in our state. This legislative session, I think, was a very successful session for many reasons. One, and not because it's me, but our Veteran Services Department requires stability. And I'm blessed to have been the person that was selected to be confirmed to lead this agency. But that stability matters, I think, for everybody, because it allows us all to kind of just, forget about the unknowns and what's going to happen next and that kind of mentality. And we got to lean forward and look forward. Okay, we learn from the past and obviously apply it in the present so that we can have a better future. Our legislators, our state legislators, both our representative and our Senate, very interested in what they need to do to assist us. They have leaned forward. I've had many phone calls in my acting role, having conversations with our state legislators, as well as with our congressional delegation, about impacts to our veterans in our state and a way forward. And my mentality is that we must start thinking differently. Okay, what has always worked is not going to continue to work. It's great for now, but we've got to start thinking of new, innovative ways to apply the same communication strategies, because we have a different demographic. We have World War II veterans, and we have our most recent, from OIF, OEF. We have veterans over the last 20 years that still are not entertaining getting the benefits. And some of that has to do with our older demographic. Because we have Vietnam vets that are still upset about getting their benefits because we've left some very long-lasting scars, okay? And we can't go back and change that. Well, we can certainly help to make it better for those individuals. Our Korean War vets, we don't have many World War II veterans among us because of the age. We're losing them very quickly. Our Vietnam veterans, our Korean veterans, we've got to ensure that we're communicating to them at all times what is available to them, not only within our state, but at the federal level, to ensure that they're up to date on what's going on. And it can be tough. We have representatives here from the VA today, and I want to make sure that the big picture is seen. The national level changes are happening so quickly, and like any good government program, they're implemented first, and we figure out how we're going to do it afterwards. Okay? All right? So I've been around a couple minutes, so we've all seen it, that we roll out programs without a way to implement. And we'll struggle through that. So I ask for people's patience as some of these new initiatives are rolled out from the national level. And how we communicate those to you is going to be imperative. But again, having that sense of calmness as we get through this, not to say we're not going to have a sense of urgency as well within our agency as well as our partner agencies to ensure that we have personnel to accomplish the objectives that's going to be rolled out. But we're much stronger together than we are apart. This is not Department of Veteran Services program. This is the state of New Mexico coming together to assist our veterans. And already I've leaned on a lot of our VSO agencies to assist. We did a meal rollout around Christmas time. We had availability of some limited funds, and we were able to get 260 meals out to needy veterans. And the first thing I did was ask for your help, because you know our veterans in your communities much better than I do. But we were able to synchronize some efforts and basically get some of those meals delivered to some of our neediest veterans throughout our state. That's what I'm talking about, is you telling us what's going on in your areas so we understand what problems to solve and how to synchronize resources, manpower, and information to ensure that those veterans are helped the best way possible. So today's mentality is I want to sit here and listen to what you all are going to tell us what's going on, what initiatives you have within your veteran service organizations, and that way we understand the direction to be leaning so we can assist you in making those things a reality for your memberships, okay? Let me touch briefly on memberships. I know that our veteran service organizations memberships are waning. As we continue to lose veterans, we're not getting people coming in the front door as people are passing or leaving the organization. Is that a true statement?
Yes.
Okay. How do we continue to inform people and bring people together in our communities if they're not coming to get that information, right? So I'm not going to tell you that I'm going to be your biggest cheerleader on getting membership, but I am surely going to tell people to ensure that they are aware of the organizations like you, your existence, and what you bring to the fight. Because information is our most valuable asset right now. Some of these younger veterans don't understand what they're leaving on the table. And two, how they're impacting the total veteran population by not signing up for those benefits and generating a demand signal. We've talked several times with the VA interim director, Ms. Lisa Hamilton. And you know, how many of you think there's enough providers at the VA? Okay, right? That's our biggest complaint. But you know what? We're part of the problem. Because everybody in this room, are they all registered with the VA? And everybody we know who's a veteran, are they registered with the VA? Do they have their VA card in their wallet, in their backpack, wherever? I don't care if it's on their nightstand. But did they take the time to get registered and generate a demand signal to our federal to say there's this many veterans that are requiring services in the state of New Mexico? Right? So, if you know a veteran that's not registered, influence their decision to at least get registered, get signed up. They don't have to use the benefit until they need it. That's going to matter. That's going to help us to help the VA to have more people available. All right? Everything is demand signals, right? These are all generated. So I'm asking you to think about those things as we move forward with our veterans and our constituencies. All right, if you know a veteran and they're not signed up, please press them to get to the VA, take a mug shot. It's a great little white ID card, and you know, they can put it on their nightstand, but at least we know that they exist and they might be requiring services at some point in their future. The last thing we need is veterans needing services and not having them available to them because they didn't do what they needed to do to get taken care of, right? So sometimes we're our own worst enemy. And it's funny I say that as I start my transition out of uniform and, you know, going through some of the transition briefs and things of that nature. So I'm going to be walking the path that I'm asking everybody else to as I step out of uniform here this fall. So again, we're here to listen to you today to talk about the issues that are affecting you. I will comment a little on what is pending at the governor's desk. We have a National Guard Equity Burial Act that was put forward and is included in our House bill. And that is going to allow for National Guard and reservists who do not have a 214 and qualify for burial in a national cemetery to be buried in a state cemetery, one of our 3 state cemeteries that we have, with the same honors provided to those who have the national authorization. That's huge. Secondly is, obviously we asked for a lot of additional transportation dollars. You know, we've been very lucky and we benefited from VA grants. We're constantly looking for federal dollars to assist us in our state. And last year, Ms. Diane Morning Brown, we were able to secure a $250,000 transportation grant for highly rural areas and some of our tribal areas, okay? But a grant is just that. If it's available, maybe we get it. If not, we won't. So that's why I'm asking for the state to augment those funds, because I can't start a program, get everybody excited about it, and then shut it off next year if there's no funding, right? We've seen a need, we're filling the need, and we've got to continue to expand on that. So I'm trying to expand these programs. The infrastructure at some of our cemeteries and our memorials, our Angel Fire Memorial, we are currently at about 90% completion on our reduced configuration Vietnam wall. This is a exact replica of our Vietnam wall that is going to be in place. I don't want to jinx it because they got like 10 inches of snow again yesterday in Angel Fire. Okay, but we are planning on having that completely in place and ready for our Memorial Day celebration for the grand opening of that memorial wall. I say that because it matters. That's a Vietnam memorial for us there. And the Westfall Foundation has been a huge partner there. We also have our state cemetery there. And some of the funds that we should receive in our capital budget this year as well for the upkeep and some upgrades and expansion into some of those plots. As we continue to get more veterans being selected burial there, we're expanding the areas to ensure that we have the capability and capacity to continue to have our New Mexicans buried in a cemetery of their choice. Okay, some of the funding for many of you do our honor guard throughout the state, our tributes. Our program is growing. We've asked for additional funds there, and we received some funds there to continue to make sure that we pay that final respect for our service members that it's available. And thank you all for what you do in keeping those teams filled and coming to the trainings that are required for us to ensure that we do, you know, our last best effort for our veterans and their families. So I want you to understand that I'm going to continue to fight to push forward the emphasis for our veterans. And not just, and I know we have some of our representatives in the room. I think I saw Ellen Martinez here earlier. Representative Martinez is in the room. Is there anybody else here? Okay, so thank you for being here, Representative Martinez. I say this, there's a lot of excitement about veterans during the session, and then when it comes down to the final bills, there's a lot less excitement, okay? And I'm gonna keep pressing that. And I know that we have friends both on the Senate and the House of Representatives that are helping us to move this forward. But again, we've got to execute what we have, expand where we're going, and be able to show the vision of that path forward for them to invest in the programs that we have. And that's why we're here today, is to find out what that vision looks like from your foxhole, so we can take and carry that water and start developing that to get the resources necessary to help our veterans in every last corner of our state. Okay, we're in a pretty troubled state right now with our rural areas. We don't have behavioral health professionals. We don't have healthcare professionals in some of these areas. How do we get at that? There has been a study done last year. Prior to my arrival, there was a first phase of a study done on rural healthcare and regional capacities and how we could actually accomplish this in our state. And it's based off a model of 5 other states that have engaged in that have highly rural areas. And so far it's been successful. So we're looking to expand on that capability and look at how we can implement that in the state of New Mexico to ensure that veterans are not driving hundreds of miles to get care, or to a veteran service officer. We're looking at how we look at a regional aspect and having the resources in place so we can actually accomplish that. So some big picture stuff for you to think about. But lastly, thank you for everything that you do for our veterans and for being here. And I look forward to having some very detailed conversations with each and every one of you. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning. It's good to see everybody here. I'm very happy to be here. I want to also introduce Larry Campos back there. He's a congressional liaison, also works with the VA, knows much more about VA healthcare system than I do.
I don't see him.
Stand up.
There he is.
So I just want to talk about a few things, and I want to thank the Secretary for the comments that he made, because I do want to look at this as a partnership between all of your organizations and the organization that I represent now. I'm part of the Veterans Administration. I'm the acting associate director right now. I've been acting in it for a long time, and it looks like I'm going to be in the role for a little while longer. Came here about a year ago from Los Angeles, where I was in charge of the community engagement and reintegration services in Los Angeles, which is basically their homeless programs and outreach programs in Los Angeles. Prior to that, I was the chief of the social work program in Philadelphia, and before that, I was a coordinator and a national program manager for programs out of Tampa, Florida, mostly for homeless veterans. So I'm a clinical social worker. That's my profession. That's not what I do now, so social workers in a house. But I love talking about VA. I've been with VA for 20 years. I've been with the federal government for 23 years. I was a reservist in the Marines in the 80s. I was a little bit of a screw-up back then, so I don't say too much about that. Did that for a few years. Started with the federal government in 2000 and worked at a Naval Air Station in Willow Grove, Pennsylvania. Most of my work, I'm from New Jersey, if you notice the accent. I might start talking like Tony Soprano in a minute. If you get me riled up. I was looking at this picture over here with these A-10 Warthogs. Those were on the base at the Naval Air Station, and so that brings back some good memories. From there, I went to the Naval Support Activity, in Gaeta, Italy, which supported the Command 6 Fleet, and we were working there when the start of the Iraq War happened. And I got to see a lot of the service members on their way to that from there. And then following that path, came to Tampa, Florida, and I worked in a polytrauma unit as a social worker, serving the injured soldiers that came back from the Iraq War with their head trauma and spinal cord injuries, and I worked there. And then I started getting into homeless programs with veterans, which is my favorite population of people in general, veterans in particular. Our homeless population is large. Although I got to say, it's not as large as it used to be. It's much smaller than it was when I first started. It's about half of what it was when I did start with the VA. So the VA is doing tremendous work trying to find and house our homeless veterans. But in this area, we can use your help too. Homeless veterans are difficult to identify because they're mobile. So if any of your services come in contact with homeless veterans, please send them our way. We have services. We can get them housed very quickly, put them in temporary housing. We have mental health and substance use treatment for all of the veterans for whatever they need. We do what we call wraparound services for our most vulnerable veterans. And homeless population is just one of those populations. Now, you heard it said that you have a responsibility or an obligation to help us serve all of our veterans, and I want to take that as a partnership and a challenge too. If you are not getting your health care at VA now, I'm going to talk you into it right now. I'm going to talk you into it for a number of different reasons. I wouldn't work in an organization that I didn't respect. Now, we have some press that maybe is not the best for us, and things like access to care, and I want to explain all of these things. But I'm going to let you know, and I promise you this, that VA healthcare is the best healthcare. This is an organization this is a model for all healthcare, I believe. And what makes us really great is we have doctors who care, we have social workers, we have medical support assistants, we have police, we have administrators. Everybody has one focus, and that's to care for those who have borne the burden of battle, and their caregivers and families. And that's our mission. That was from the Abraham Lincoln's second inaugural address back in 1864. And we're serious about this. We are absolutely serious about it. VA has better patient satisfaction scores than most other private organizations, private hospitals, private healthcare systems. We have good access to care. And I know this is an issue that comes up here in New Mexico, but I want to say we've had better access to care in the year that I've been there. We've decreased our wait times for primary care from 40 days to just under 30 days now. And we're shooting for 20 days to get access to care. Our mental health care is just under 20 days as of today. We can get access to mental health care in just under 20 days. We do have some issues with our specialty care, things like cardiology, podiatry, oncology services. And this is not just the VA system that has this problem. New Mexico has a global problem with specialty care services. We are working on it, but what the Secretary said, the staffing that we have depends on the number of veterans we serve. So the big VA looks at this backwards. So they'll take the veterans that we're serving now and give us staff in 2 years. So we're always catching up. And we're increasing. We've increased our numbers of veterans that come to see us. Individual veterans, we call them unique encounters. Individual veterans, in the last 2 years, we went from about 55,000 to 64,000 unique veterans with the New Mexico VA healthcare system. And part of my role is strategic planning. I'm trying to project what the future holds for VA, for our system here. And it looks like we are missing quite a few veterans that could be eligible for health care. And it might even be up to 100,000 veterans. We are not exactly sure, but we do have surveys, we do have information that there's potentially up to more veterans that are living in New Mexico that are not getting their health care at VA. So I encourage you, I'm pleading with you to send them our way. We will take better care of them, we will take better care of you than other healthcare systems will. We have a number of things, and I'm going to give a plug to the social workers at the VA. I've been a social worker for, I don't even know, 25 years. And VA has a team of social workers, thousands of social workers in every one of their medical centers. Here we have about 120 social workers in the healthcare system. They work with homeless, they work with mental health, they work with primary care. They do all kinds of work that's designed to help veterans navigate through this system. And no other healthcare system will give you that. You will not get the hand-holding that you get at VA. And our social workers are the primary point of contact for that. They'll guide a veteran through a complex maze of services, and not just with healthcare, also with benefits, also with cemetery benefits. The social workers are trained to know all these things. They're trained to discuss with you what we call our social determinants of health. Do you get enough food to eat? Do you have a place to live? Are you living in a violent relationship? Are there any other care issues that you might have that our healthcare providers don't always address, but our social workers will address? They'll ask you questions that are uncomfortable so that we can get the best care up to you. So if you're not getting your health care there, you're missing out on a really great part of our service. I want to talk a little bit about our PACT Act, and Larry is a much more better expert at the PACT Act than I am, but the promise to address comprehensive toxins. Now, this is the PACT Act. This came into effect a year or so ago, and it's getting ready to expand. So this is another thing, and the Secretary was saying that veterans are leaving services on the table. So we're doing our best to get the word out. We have an outreach team that goes out, including Larry. They go out, they talk about the PACT Act, and they're letting veterans know what services you are eligible for now that you were not in the past. And these toxic exposures, we're trying to make sure that the veterans understand that the VA, the federal government, is taking responsibility for conditions that have occurred due to toxic exposure in certain theaters of operation. And there's a long list. There's a number of conditions, that we call these presumptives. If you have this condition and you served in this area, we're going to assume that that condition was caused by your service in that area. And that makes you eligible for care for that service, for that condition. And a lot of, so the, what's my place? So some of these conditions are asthma, from being around a burn pit. You know, this is lots of people get asthma. And a veteran might not think that this is something that might be connected to their service. Brain cancer, bronchitis, chronic bronchitis, other chronic ear, nose, and throat issues, rhinitis, sinusitis, things like that. Emphysema, a bunch of different kinds of cancers. Kidney cancer. I served there when I was in the Marines. I was at Camp Lejeune for a little while, and I thought I was eligible for the toxic water exposure there, but I only went to Camp Lejeune for a little while. I was mostly at Camp Geiger, which is off the base, and I wasn't eligible, so I missed out on that one. But thankfully, I don't have any medical conditions to be concerned about as of yet. But there are other conditions: pancreatic cancer, melanoma, lymphoma, all these things, and we presume that these have occurred if a person served in areas where the conditions were right to make these conditions happen. So we have to let our veterans know, our new veterans, our post 9/11 veterans that are not aware of what is available to them and may be suspicious of that they heard bad things about VA. I will do my best to allay anybody's fears about how VA treats people. We do our best, and we promise that we do the best that we possibly can. And I also want to make it clear that my side of the house is the Veterans Health Administration. So we take care of the health care of the veterans. There's the Veterans Benefits Administration, which takes care of the compensation part of it, the other kinds of benefits that's the VBA. And they also have benefits for these same types of conditions. There might be some compensatory damages that a person can get because they have these conditions. So I want to stick around. I want to answer all the questions that you have. I might not have all the answers. Larry might have some of the answers. If I don't have the answers, I'll take back the questions with me, and I'll get back to you on whatever it is you need to know.
Good morning. I'm Jim Berdine with VFW Post 10763. Commander Haddix called me this morning, the state commander, and she was unable to make this meeting today. She's not feeling well. And I can understand why. She didn't want to come to this scary bunch of people. On behalf of the commander, if you don't know me, I'm with a very small post up in the Northeast Heights. We started with about 35 members 4 years ago, and now we're up to 136. So when I hear people tell me your organization can't grow, I just say, work, you know. But one of the things I want to talk about is this Saturday, I'm leaving for Washington, D.C. to go to the legislative committee that the VFW has a meeting for 5 days in Washington, D.C. The VFW is one of those organizations, probably many organizations have personnel on their behalf in Washington. We have a full-time, 365-day set of people in Washington, D.C. representing the veterans. The VFW is one of the oldest and longest-standing people in the nation with the veterans group. And I'm really not prepared for this, by the way, if you can tell at 7 o'clock. But we've always had about 1.5 million people. The VA, like all of you, is having trouble keeping their membership strong. And we will be talking about membership there. Our current department membership is at 92.4. And if anybody here isn't a member of the VFW, please stop later and talk to me about joining and keeping our members strong. We are the largest voice of veterans that go to see. Now, one of the things I'll be doing in Washington is visiting our senators and our legislators, all our congresspeople, face to face, not writing them a letter and asking them to do something. We're going to go shake their hand in their office and visit with them. One of the things the VFW is doing in the state right now is it's called Small Homes for Veterans. Down in Socorro, we built, I think, 10 or 15 little houses now down there for the Veterans Project. It's our yearly annual project. If you have forgotten Veterans Park in Socorro. If you haven't visited, go down and visit that project. One thing the commander asked me to talk about is claim sharks. If anybody in your organization is going to file for a claim, tell them to use the VA or our workers that can help them for free. You don't have to pay any of these claim sharks to do any of that for you. One thing I do want to talk about is, I was just at a meeting Monday for the Memorial Day services here at the Veterans Center. The question that came up is, what does everybody think about having a Memorial Day parade? We had a nice Veterans Day parade last November the 11th. It was a great success. One of the questions, how many people here think a Memorial Day parade would be something that would be worthy of having? They asked me to ask my little post, and we're just a little post. But how many people here, just raise your hand if you think a Memorial Day parade would be a good item. Well, it's kind of like 50, well, I think after the slow ones back there raise their hands, I think we got a majority. There was a couple people back there going like, is there enough people to say yes? So I'm going to pass that on. I think it would be a really great thing. I don't know if any of you are old enough to remember Memorial Day parades. As a Cub Scout, I marched in them all the time, and it was a great thing. So I'll pass that on to the... Also, how many people here belong to the United Veterans Council of the Greater Albuquerque? If you don't belong, everybody that's within the state lines of the state of New Mexico can belong. Be part of it. They help pass on information all the time, every month, about activities that you're doing in Espanola or down in Jal, New Mexico, wherever you're at. So if you could become part of the United Veterans Council, it would be greatly appreciated. It's only $25 a year. So if your organization, that way we take your information and pass it out to everybody in the state. I'm going to tell you, our Poast is very involved in the the historic Fairview Cemetery. He's taking care of that at the VA. Thank you. If you haven't been out to the historic VA cemetery, 4 years ago when we started out there, it was a disaster area. And now, thank you, thank you, thank you. I know the veterans that are laid to rest there. There's over 550 veterans laid to rest. Nobody in the city knew about them, I don't think. Did you know about them before? No. I was at a meeting with David Poyar in Gallup, New Mexico. Spoke to the people from the cemetery of up in Santa Fe about personal reasons, and told them about the cemetery, and they had never heard of 550 veterans being laid to rest in the middle of Albuquerque. And it has really, there's going to be a Memorial Day service there. I think it's going to be at 3 o'clock on Memorial Day. And I want to invite each and every one of you to come by to that event. But anyway, I'm not going to be talking long because I don't have much to talk about, actually. When you're surprised at 7 o'clock in the morning but I want to say Commander Haddock sends her, she wishes she could have been here. She'd be much more prepared than I was. And anybody have questions, stop by and ask me. I might have an answer for you. Thank you. You know, I think the top 3 items, of course, is the one all of us have, and that's membership. If we don't keep our members high, then we don't have the arm in Washington that we've always had. And so instead of being able to go and see our representatives face to face, we'll go with a group of 35, 40 people. There's going to be a small group of us, not even 10 of us, go there and talk to them face to face. The more strength you have in numbers, the more powerful we are. And then I think serving our veterans, every day you see a veteran, we can serve them. I have people ask me questions that we think, shh, that's so simple. Why aren't they doing it? Why don't they know that already? But they just don't. So if you meet a veteran, and I meet them in the darndest places all the time. It might be in the commissary, it might be in the BX, it might be at Lowe's. Actually, one of my trustees, I didn't know she was a veteran, but she had that veteran walk. You ever see that veteran walk? You know, they kind of walk like that. And my wife said, what are you doing? I said, I think I have a new member right ahead of me, because she walked like a sergeant. And lo and behold, she's been a good member of our post now for about 3.5 years. So watch out for that walk. And you know, there's so many things that are important about the VFW, and I'm trying to think the third most important thing, and I think that is just fellowship. I think fellowship is a really big thing. You don't have to sit down and talk about what they did in the war and this and that. I sat down yesterday at the BX, met a young man, young, anybody's young compared to me anymore, but I looked at him and said, you know, I don't know him, but I'm going to ask him how long he was in the service. And he told me, oh, I was in 21 years. But I'm really busy, I don't have time to talk. We spent 45 minutes sitting on a chair in there while he talked to me about his wife is very ill, his son has problems, all the problems in the world that he has, and he just needed a shoulder to lean on and talk to. So the one thing I could tell you to do is take a few moments out of every day of your life to sit down and listen hard, and let them talk. Don't you talk. Ask a little question every now and then, but if you just say, yes, I understand, and may the world be with you, and we can all think of good things. And when I left him, after speaking with him for a long time, and him speaking mainly to me, we became friends. And it doesn't take a long time to become friends with a fellow veteran.
Oh my God, I haven't seen a group like this in a long time. Where is, let me see, Ray Silva and Ed Mendez, where are they? Are they here? Thank you, God, for the updates. Thank you for everything. I appreciate that. Communication's gotten a lot better. General, Mr. Director, thank you, God, for being here. I think I talked to the General about a month ago, no, a couple of weeks ago, at the Midwinter Conference. Today I'm supposed to be in Washington, D.C. We have our American Legion legislation, PACT Act, all the laws going on. I'd rather wanted to be here. And right now, we're getting better. Communication's getting better. Everything's working great. This is my last year as a commander. I'm gonna retire and chill out for a little bit. You know what I mean? Just take it easy. But right now is Larry Campos. Are you here? You're in trouble, sir. We'll talk later. I'll talk to the director later about it. Okay? No, thank you. What's happening? Where's my VABS, Lorenzo Marquez? Are you here? Okay, and I have my I never travel without my chaplain, Karen, there she is. She always prays for me, but the VA is coming a long way. It's crazy, and I'll tell you a story about it here, but now with the congressional liaison, that's what Larry does, and with Lisa Hamilton, which I talked to her about a couple of weeks ago. She is our interim director, my director. Very nice lady, very knowledgeable. She was at my midwinter conference. And what's happening is that people talk about the VA, and I used to talk about the VA, but the last 4 years have been changing a lot. You know, and I told them the biggest thing you guys need to do is just acknowledge the veteran first. Don't go on a break and just let them sit there. You know what I mean? Acknowledge the veteran. Thank you for the service. By the way, thank you for your service, veterans. Thank you. Thank you very much. So it's been changing a lot. We do have quarterly visits. We're trying to get with hopefully with the acting director now. Matt over here, we try to get the quarterly visits. And I'm gonna tell you a story that happened. I'm lucky to be here. It's a true story. I think the general was there. Who was that? Courtney Poe and Jennifer Grego, Larry? Yes. Okay, these ladies are two pharmacy technicians. When I got elected about a year ago, the VA called me. Robert, what? You're a diabetic. I said, what is that? I have no idea what you're talking about. It doesn't even run in my family. I have no idea what that is. I didn't want to even listen to him. But guess what? My sugar levels were at 340 and 360. Is that dangerous? Very dangerous. So it lasted for about 3 months. I started painting, and as the commander, okay, I lost about 140 pounds, but I look great now. But, you know what I mean? I said, wait a minute. The only thing you're going to get out of my system is Bud Light. That's it. Okay, I mean? And they started laughing. And oh my God, these ladies bugged me. When I was in Charlotte for the National Convention, they called me every morning. What is your blood reading? What is your glucose? I said, really? Do you want me to poke myself with a little needle and poke myself? And then they sent me another package, insulin, whatever the heck that was. So now you want me to poke myself twice? No, it ain't happening. But it did happen, and thank God to the VA, I am here. I'm alive today because of the VA. And I thank those two pharmacists. They're recognized at the convention, if I'm correct. But you know what? Right now, the American Legion is more worried about B1. You guys see what I'm wearing right here is B1. And I'm talking with Commander Haddock from the VFW. Me and her have been friends for a long time. Too many suicides going on, guys. A lot of suicides with these veterans. And right now, I do have a commission out there with the VA. And we're going to meet with them now. With Victoria, we're trying to get a group that will go out, and every month, quarterly, within the post, we have 97 posts in the state of New Mexico. Almost 177,000 veterans that I have to be under. But we're trying to get people to call every month. It's not a one-time thing, guys. You got to keep doing it and doing it and doing it. Everybody knows veterans. Everybody knows who they are. All you got to do is talk to them and listen and refer them to the right people. Of course, some of them won't listen to you. They won't do that, of course. And a lot of them don't want to live by the rules. But that's what we are here. We're all veterans. We all served under. We all signed the same dotted line. Okay? So that's the big thing that we're pushing right now. And Mr. Herrera promised me at the Midwinter Conference. I didn't recognize you were using your uniform then, sir. Man, he looks younger now, doesn't he? Oh my God, this guy looks young. I don't know what you take, but I don't know. But I'm actually have New Mexico DVS all in one place, all back there. Wow. Woo! I'm shocked. Thank you guys for coming. I really appreciate it. Because the American Legion has been having a lot of problems with that back in the day, sir. And but now that by me talking to you earlier, I think it's going to work great. And thank you for that, and we're going to go forward with that, and we're going to push that. So I'm going to probably be bugging you a lot, okay? Before I leave, okay? Okay, so right now, hey, did I mention Ed? I did mention Ed. So right now, the American Legion is one of the largest veterans organizations in the United States right now. With the change of the PACT Act, everybody know what a PACT Act is? So what happened back in the day is a lot of people couldn't join the American Legion because their war era wasn't in line with the date that you're supposed to be able to join the American Legion. So that passed 2 years ago in Washington, D.C. with Congress. So now anybody after October 3rd or 1941, sir? Can you remember? So anybody that's joined up, am I correct? Yeah. So anybody can join us if you didn't serve from 1941. Doesn't matter. If you're 24 hours, 1 day, 3 days, everybody can join. Now we can have all my veterans back into place. And you know, I just love my veterans. They're great. Thank you guys for everything else. Appreciate the VFW. Haddock is a great commander. We always have our little issues and fights, but that's what we're out here for. Just do what's right for my veterans. And I thank you again, veterans. Thank you very much. And DVS, I'll be talking to you guys later on, okay? Thank you so much.
Thank you all for having us today. I want to thank DVS for putting on today's conference. DAV has some unique challenges in New Mexico, but before I begin with that, I want to talk a little bit about DAV and what we aim to do. DAV is 10,000 members strong in New Mexico, much like the rest of the service organizations that's struggling with membership, particularly with our younger veterans. The most recent report that I ran for New Mexico showed me that less than 5% of our members are under the age of 40. Next week, we also will be supporting, or I'll be sending, along with the commander from DAV, Department of New Mexico, we're sending 4 of our personnel to DC to work with legislators and ask for help. We have a constant presence in Washington, DC, much like the VFW, American Legion. It's almost gonna sound like we're competing, but I don't think we're here to do that today. Largely, what I think our big issues are in New Mexico is specifically with outreach. We struggle with our outreach to reach the younger veterans and ask them to come in. Then being a volunteer-based organization, many of our younger veterans are working, have full-time jobs, and don't understand that they can access their benefits, which can improve their quality of life significantly. Our organization has basically two sides. One side being our service program side, and then our fraternal side. I'm the adjutant of the fraternal side, and I'm very proud of what we've done at DAV Department of New Mexico. We've recently worked with our chaplain's assistant, NMVAHCS. She's providing a monthly dinner here in Albuquerque for veterans. If you'd like to get information on that, please see me. We have an available pantry, an available closet. We have a couple of hospital service programs. Today I'm accompanied by Vicker from our service program office, National Service Officer. We also have Gene Weber, who's our recently appointed VAVS chairperson. We're proud to get that ball rolling with the VA. Thank you guys. And we also have our chaplain here today, Sarah Langley. Recently, we had a bit of a shakeup at our department with regards to our privately owned vehicle transportation program. We had rolled out this program full force. We were hoping to get young veterans, any public person who wanted to offer a veteran a ride to their appointments. We were able to issue a repayment to them in the form of a reimbursement. What we didn't know was that we were directly contradicting what DAV's mission is, and that's to provide a voluntary service, and we don't pay volunteers. We present to Congress as a volunteer-based organization, and it was never our intent to violate what we were telling Congress we did. We've been working with DVS recently to try and figure out what we can do to provide service to our veterans in rural New Mexico. That POV program, privately owned vehicle program, had been in effect for several years by the former administration. We didn't have any issues with it until recently. I can't tell you why we ran into this issue with our national office, but what I can tell you is they've asked me to advocate for the DAV van program. All of you have seen DAV vans around. It's a really popular program, but again, I need volunteer drivers for that program. It is strictly a volunteer-based program. That leads me into telling you a little bit about our volunteer program with the transportation network specifically. Sorry, I don't do a lot of public speaking. Thank you. With regards to the volunteer program on the vans, I brought something today to present to DVS, basically just a rough figure. The average cost of a van in our cost share program is $23,000 for a 7-passenger 4x4 van. Under the agreement of our POV program, we were looking at about a funding of $60,000. National has asked me to bring to the table for DVS the ability to do this cost share program with our vans. Ford helps us in partnership with DAV. And we're hoping that we can work with you all to purchase some vans to provide that rural service. In addition, I'm asking DVS if you will support us with outreach money. Historically, our National Service Officer program was given, I believe, close to $25,000 a year. We often didn't have to ask for that funding, and it was automatic. We're asking that it be restored. And here in a moment, I'm going to hand it over to Vicker, and he'll explain why our service programs are so important. Of course, like we've all discussed today here, the needs of our vets and our comrades, brothers and sisters, young veterans coming up, it's not going to decrease. Many of our older vets come to me as a younger adjutant and they tell me, you're just trying to ask us to leave. You want to take over the organizations. That's not true. We need you guys to show us how to carry on these organizations and ensure that they're here for the younger vets. I'm a 40-year-old veteran. And I find myself in the company of a lot of 20-year-old veterans, but also in the company of a lot of 70 and 80-year-old veterans. There's a huge gap in the age there. And I'm asking older veterans to help us, the younger veterans, to understand what we need to do to make sure that VSOs are sustainable and they're carried on into the future so that we can get our benefits that you created for us, we create them for the next generation. Again, going back to what our true needs are. We need outreach money. It'll support our recruitment efforts. It can allow us to inform our veterans of the volunteer programs that will allow for transportation, service programs, things like the closet and pantry. With respect to the volunteers needed for the volunteer drivers needed for the VAVS programs, volunteer drivers are the key to the success of the program, and they positively affect the lives of the veterans we serve. You don't have to be a veteran to volunteer with DAV. You can volunteer as much as you like. You can volunteer once a month, once every 2 months. We just need help. We're looking, in addition, to expand our sister organization, which is the DAV Auxiliary. We have several units across the state, not as many as I'd like, but we also have junior auxiliary units, again, lending to the future of our VSOs. Outreach money, going back to outreach money. With regard to the auxiliary, their mission directly supports ours and sustains our programs. This year, our department, DAV Department of New Mexico, is looking to lose 2 chapters. That's a huge loss to our veteran communities across the state. It's unfortunate, and there's nothing we can do to try and save these 2 charters that are looking to go under. Again, it's lack of outreach. I attended meetings, they're poorly attended, maybe 10 to 18 members, and some as little as 6, where they can't actually do any business without a quorum. Moving into the future, we're absolutely going to need the help of DVS and our other VSOs, such as DAV and American Legion. We need the staff from DVS. We need our staff over at National. We need our staff in the service officer programs. And then again, we need all of our volunteers at DAV. I work hard to recruit young veterans every day, and our department has expanded significantly, meaning our headquarters here in Albuquerque, but not as much as I would like to see. We have our upcoming convention this year in June. Again, I have information if anybody's interested, but that's our ultimate outreach effort right there, that I can see where we can gain some membership, show our younger members what we have to offer, make sure they get their benefits, and carry on into the future successfully. I just don't want to see us go away. I really, really value what our VSOs do for us. DAV has improved my life 100 times. Other veterans organizations like Paws and Stripes, I'll put a plug in there for them. They've done some great work for veterans. I've seen lots of veterans come out of their programs, rehabilitated to some degree, doing much better with service dogs. A plug for Paws and Stripes if I can, okay? At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Brett Vicker with our National Service Officer Program.
Good morning. Again, my name is Brett Becker. I am a native of New Mexico, ran away for 30 years, came back. Secretary Herrera and I actually went to school together. I'm just going to plug that. Go Elks, right? So at the National Service Offices down on Gold, we are trying our hardest to reach as many people in this state as we possibly can. We are responsible to do at least 6 outreaches a year in the state of New Mexico. When we do that out of the national office, not the department, we need about an 8-week lead. With that lead, we then put in a mailer of 25-mile radius of where we're going to be at. During these times, we can do information on the PACT Act or any other services veterans are looking at. We can also submit claims at that time too. So we are out there. We're beating the dirt. It's hard work. Everybody in this office, in this room, who's a veteran knows how challenging it is just to be a veteran. I mean, you've got your own self to deal with, but you've also got other veterans that you're trying to help at the same time. For the state of New Mexico, last year, the DAV was able to get New Mexican veterans approximately $316 million in benefits. That's a substantial number. Also, during the Mora Fire Relief, we were up there, and we were able to give vouchers to veterans in the sum of about $252,000. So we're helping. We're trying to be involved in our communities. We're trying to be involved in the state. This is not a pump for the DAV. I'm not here to recruit anybody. What I want is us to work together as service organizations. It's unfortunate we lost the Purple Heart. Most recently, the AMVETS lost their accreditation. We're struggling. We're struggling. I know DVS has been having issues as well with funding their offices and keeping people in the offices. It's taxing work. It's not easy. You go home drained every day trying to help as many veterans as you possibly can. So we need to reach out to our younger veterans. The average age of a member of any organization, VFW, Legion, DAV, the average age is 77. 77. What are we missing? We are not talking to our younger generation. I'm the younger generation. The general's the younger generation. We need help. We need help. There's family members out there. There's people who are embarrassed because they didn't serve in combat, or they're embarrassed because they didn't do it glorious. You served your country. None of us raised our hand and went, I want glory. We did what we felt was right, and we deserve the compensation for that. And we deserve the support from our state and from our nation. So again, this is not a plug for you guys. It's just it's really more of a cry for help. Let's get these younger people some help because they're struggling. And the older people as well. I've done claims, first-time claims for a 93-year-old. We're missing it. We're missing our people. I know I've helped you before. You know, we're here. Our door is open. Please see us. We've been open through the pandemic. We'll help you, along with any of the other organizations. I'm just saying, you know, we need to get out there and we need to give these people the help that they need, whether it be financial or medical or whatever it is, even if it's just having a cup of coffee with someone. Any little bit will help. I thank you for your time.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Sardo Sanchez. I represent the United States Seagoing Marines Association. The Marine Corps' first mission when it started in 1775 was Seagoing Marines aboard the USS Chavez. This year, March 29th, we're going to dedicate a memorial right up here on the north side of the building. And I come here to invite all of you to come out. If you guys know any Marines, especially Seagoing Marines, please invite them. And hope to see you guys here. And I'll be back in the back for a couple,
What's the date?
and I'll pass out some flyers.
What's the date? The date?
March 29th at 10:30 a.m. It's also Vietnam Veterans Day. So our programs are going to kind of piggyback together. So I encourage everyone to come out, support not only Seagoing Marines, but also the Vietnam Veterans of New Mexico. Thank you.
My name is Sam Trujillo. I was appointed chairperson of the New Mexico Veterans Advisory Council for the governor. We, on June the 23rd, we started our committee. Since then, we've had the opportunity to meet 5 different times. And we're working, striving to see how we can better serve the veterans of New Mexico. the governor is very concerned about us making New Mexico a veteran-friendly state. There's many issues affecting veterans, everything from homeless to women's sexual abuse, and it goes on and on. But the thing that we're seeing that we need to do is how do we reach veterans upon their separation or discharge from the military service. Our duties and have been primarily to meet and to better understand what services are being provided by the state of New Mexico to veterans. And we started out by having the various groups from the New Mexico Veterans Service group to educate us on what they are providing for the veterans right now. And we got in our various meetings, we've gotten an education on what is being provided to veterans. We need to be able to understand what is being provided before we can see where we can better serve and help veterans that throughout the state of New Mexico.
Well, thank you all. This is an amazing honor. This is probably one of the most prestigious groups I'll ever speak in front of, so definitely thank you for your service there. I am Brock Wolff. I'm the CEO at the Veterans Integration Centers, affectionately called the VIC. The VIC, how many of you know John Garcia? Is that name? Former secretary. Wow. So he's a true champion for veterans. He was our founder, and in 2003, he found some homeless veterans out on the streets of Albuquerque and secured a horse stable at the fairgrounds for them. And 2 years later, the VIC was incorporated. And our mission is to help homeless veterans and those at risk of homelessness, as well as their family members. We have two major VA grants. One is for transitional housing, where we can have veterans with us up to a year, mostly around that 6-month level is ideal. And they stay with us. We work on their life skills, their mental health, their substance abuse issues, and help prepare them for permanent housing. And our other program is supportive services for veterans and their families. And that's a statewide program where we do emergency housing, rapid rehousing, and homeless prevention. And at the heart of our organization is case management and outreach. Our outreach person was here earlier, but we're on the streets every day trying to convince veterans to come off the streets. In a nation where there's 35,000 veterans nearly, it's been reduced, out on the streets that are homeless every day. I find one unacceptable, and it's our mission to work to help that and to stop those from happening for our nation's heroes. We also offer a food pantry, a community shuttle, a mental health program, as I talked about earlier. And we're really strong partners with DVS. I feel we're on hugging relationship, and with the VA. Not yet, I haven't hugged the new secretary yet, but I'm working up towards it. There we go. And also with the VA, we're really strongly connected with both organizations. And we couldn't do the work we do without the support from the community and the government entities. And so just really proud of this organization. We've done a lot of great things. And I know you guys and gals often feel like you just hear a lot of words but not actions. And so I'm here to say we're doing actions with our new campus. I'm going to let our board chair tell you a little bit more about that.
Good morning. It's been a long journey. We've been working on this campus since about mid-21. I'll just give you a little history on how it started. Basically, the VA back in the summer of 21 had some extra CARES money, excess CARES money, and they reached out to all the GPD grantees, of which we are the one in New Mexico, offering either to renovate a transitional housing building for the veterans or build a new. And so we applied. We have 42 beds, and the math was basically they were offering $75,000 per approved bed. So doing the math, it was about $3.2 million. So we applied for it in November of 21, and May of 22, we were awarded the $3.2 million capital grant. And looking back on it, we thought, oh wow, we've arrived. You know, we're going to go build a brand new facility. Well, currently, we're looking at $12.2 million for just the transitional housing building, which is 20,000 square feet, and the wraparound services building, which will be adjoined to it there. Brock, maybe you could point out how it works, but it's gonna be a total of 28,000 square feet. And it's been a great working relationship with all the government entities. We've gotten all the brick and mortar funded, assuming the governor signs off next Friday. But basically, the VA started, you know, at 3.2. Bernco, county manager, came through in a big way. They stepped up for $4.2 million. The state, assuming we get the signature next week, will be 3.5. The mayor threw in the land for us, and Congresswoman Stansbury came up with $300K as well. So all told, there's the $12 million too. So we are excited. It's coming close. In 90 days, we're going to be opening, believe it or not. It's a great location. It's right off, I don't know if you're going up I-25, going toward the airport, going south, right past Gibson. If you look to the left, you'll see Baymont Hotel, and then there's this beautiful 3 acres, and that's the VIC, that's our campus. And we're very proud of it. It's 3 miles from the VA. It's just a game changer. The 42 beds, each veteran will have a private bedroom and a private bath, the dignity they deserve.
Dog park.
So,
Dog park.
we're gonna have a doggy park, we're gonna have a walking trail, it's gonna be completely secured with the gated entry. As you know, or should know, we have 24-hour surveillance for the program, so it'll be completely secure, and we're not quite sure what else we're gonna do with the 3 acres, but we thought maybe originally we'd do some affordable housing, but we think we're just gonna do a timeout and see what needs come up perhaps for some smaller buildings that we could work, you know, add some additional wraparound services, perhaps some smaller little units for different causes. But we're gonna work with the VA, work with the Secretary, DVS, and we're excited to expand. And you know, this is our headquarters. We wanna just try and get the state covered. The funding is an ongoing support, but you know, we're working with the legislature. They've been great to us. And Brock joined us a few years ago, great staff. And we're just totally excited with what we can do to help the veteran and the cause for all the homelessness, and plus the, you know, behavioral health and the health and welfare around the whole state. So look for the campus opening. We're gonna have official opening in July. But we should have our veteran clients in there June 1st. Thank you very much.
My name is Chris Sedillo, part of the American Legion, Post 13, Honor Guard. But I'm also, wear different hats. I'm a member of the Honor Flight. Everyone here who's heard about the Honor Flight? Raise your hand, thank you. Well, this year, we have one event to raise funds for our Honor Flight, which is a car show on April 21st. At 8 a.m. It's going to be here at this location. So if you're able to come out and put the word to your organizations to come support our car show, the funds that we raise from the car show helps us take our veterans to Washington, D.C. Our next trip to Washington, D.C. is June 19th. It's a Wednesday. Depart Albuquerque, the Sunport, and return back on Friday, June the 21st. We request everyone that can be there to welcome them back. To show up and bring your you know, all your veterans that can show up to welcome back home. This year, I'm happy to announce we're taking 31. In the past years, we were only able to take 25 because it depends on how much funds we raise. So any help on the car show would be greatly appreciated. Also, who's heard of mail call when you've been in the military, mail call? Okay, well, we also do a mail call on the flight back from DC to here, and every veteran that's on this trip gets a bag full of mail, and we ask that everyone who wants to write a letter or to give them to me before the 19th, of course, and we will bag them up for all the 31 veterans that we're taking this year, and on the flight back we give them a package of the mail so that they can open on the flight back to Albuquerque. Also, if you want to go and you're not on the list, if you want to go as a guardian right now, we are charging $1,500 for the guardian for a veteran that's going. That entitles your flight, your hotel there, and all your meals from the time you leave here to the time you get back. So if you want to do that, we got applications on the website, or you can come see me after this meeting. And the last thing, as I told you, I wear a few different hats. I am the Honor Guard Commander for American Legion Post 13. We're always looking for new members. The one thing I hate to do is when a funeral home director or a family member calls me and asks me to do military honors for their loved one, and I have to say no because I don't have enough people because we're already doing one or two other ones. That's really hard to do, and I hate to say no to any family that requests it or any funeral home director. So if you're interested in joining our Honor Guard, we provide you the full uniform, and we would love to have you part of our Honor Guard. Thank you very much for your time.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for letting me join you today. My name is Nina Chavez. I'm the Director of Government Relations for Goodwill Industries of New Mexico, and we're humbled to be a part of the community serving veterans as well. So I just wanted to share the 3 federally funded programs that we provide statewide, just so you know a little bit about us. So you probably know our Supportive Services for Veterans Families program, SSVF, is the one we're most widely known for. And what it does is help stabilize housing for very low-income veterans and their families who are homeless or at risk of homelessness. And again, the components of that program are move-in costs, rent and past due rent, security deposits, moving storage, childcare, emergency supplies, case management. And our case managers work and coordinate with others like the Vic and VA, and again, we're honored to be a part of the community because it just takes this coordinated effort to make sure we're all talking about how we are serving veterans and what's needed to break down barriers for our veterans. So the other 2 programs that Goodwill provides are based around job employment, and so we have 2 different versions. One program provides long-term employment, so those case managers and career specialists help veterans. This is all for free. If they come to any of our stores across the state, we can provide these opportunities with our case managers to coordinate. And we also provide social services through that program. And the third program I want to share is our Veteran Families Services. And what that does, it's actually an opportunity to learn about subsidized warehouse and retail training through Goodwill. So if you know veterans that are looking for any support in employment or housing, we would love to talk to you. So thank you for the time.
Hello, my name is Paulo Espinosa with the American Legion, and my question to you, thank you for everything the American Department of Veterans is doing, and also the VA, for a lot of information that's put out this morning. Very good, informative to all the veterans and the community throughout the state. We haven't had this in a while, maybe last summer, I'm not sure when was the last time we had this. We're asking, well, I'm asking, if we could probably do this quarterly, and I know you guys do it on the email and all, on the PR, that's good. Most of us get it. If you don't, get with New Mexico Veteran Services. But having these kind of meetings is very, very informative to a lot of veterans in the community throughout the state, so it can take back to the communities. Asking if we probably look in the future at having it quarterly.
Yes, that's our intent.
Good morning.
Good morning.
General Herrera, it's a pleasure. And Commander Rodriguez, thanks for inviting me. I'm with the Cabin Zone Wounded Warrior Haven here in New Mexico. I'm also working with this same program in Texas. So we work specialized with the PTSD and the TBI. And so we're a ragtag bunch of combat veterans that we're doing this mission. We're strictly volunteers, but we're here to support you guys. And of course, I like what's going on here, but it's important that we do break down those barriers. I was told about this at the last minute, and given the fire mission, so I came to the back door, and here I am. So I guess it's important that we get this information out to everybody. But we're here, we're a tool for you guys, and we'd like to be a part of this organization, the mission that you guys are doing. So thank you. My name is Lieutenant Colonel Pachias.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I'd like to ask this question. Due to the recent current events with the illegal migration, is the VA being tapped or considered to provide health care for the illegal migration?
No, the VA is not being considered for health care for any other than veterans. So they're an eligible veteran to get health care with the VA.
Thank you.
Good morning. Congratulations, sir. We hope you do well. I'm Rick Iannucci. I'm the founder and the executive director of Horses for Heroes. We're in our 16th year. probably the longest running program other than the veteran service organizations of providing care for our veterans. The last 3 years, we've moved into a whole different operation, an additional add-on. Remember, no good deed will go unpunished. So having said that, we're working with SOCOM the last 3 years. General Brian Fenton I served with him in Special Forces. So we're working with pre-deployment resiliency. We hosted the Navy SEALs here last year. They'll be back for post-deployment resiliency. One of the other issues that we have, I just wanted you to know how the organization's grown in 16 years. So trying to fix things on the front end, providing a little bit of a trauma mitigation before they need it, has been very instrumental, at least for the active duty special ops guys that we have coming through our program. One of the deficits that we continue to see is we're working with a number of women. Last year we had literally a run on women veterans. The majority of them were air crew, female air crew. And I don't have to tell the women here what military sexual trauma was like or is like, and I won't profess to do that other than the fact that we're aware of it. One of the deficits that we see, and I don't know if it's a VA issue or nationally or what, but they waited a long time for up to 6 to 9 weeks to get any kind of behavioral health care. When they did get it, it was long distance by somebody out of California over Zoom. And these were young, they appeared to me to be young graduate students who really weren't skilled, knew nothing about the veteran culture, knew nothing about military sexual trauma. They seemed to be maybe social workers that were trying to sub in and shoehorn whatever it was that their specialty was and they knew. So I didn't know if you were aware of it. They attempted to go through the VA proper, and I talked to Bob McHenrick a lot of times. I know Bob for 30 years, and we worked on a lot of issues together, and Larry knows because I was in Larry's office, but this is one of the, it looks like an epidemic issue now, that these women are not getting the appropriate care that they need, especially for the behavioral health end, so that they can explain, and they shouldn't have to explain what MST is when you assign somebody to them. Those people that are assigned that should automatically know that. And then the type of advice that they're getting from some of these people leaves them flat, because then they go once, maybe twice, and then they refuse to go back and talk to that person again. So I just wanted you to be aware of that and let you know that we need to do better for our women out there. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate the comments, and I'm not familiar with your organization, but I know that using horse therapy for traumatized veterans, I did that in Florida myself. It's very effective. Your comments about the female veterans and the treatment for MST, military sexual trauma. You're correct, that if we're not serving veterans right, we need to fix that. We do have military sexual trauma experts on our site here. And I think what you're describing is if there was a longer wait time than we had available, they probably referred the veterans to what is called our clinical resource hub, which is a regional remote access for behavioral health issues, and the person may very well have been from California. We don't prefer that, and we would rather to serve the New Mexico veterans here in New Mexico. But if that was the earliest appointment, we offer that to the veteran, and if they take that appointment, then we'd give them that appointment. About the providers, we do have a lot of providers that are not veterans. I do have to say that. And in the mental health field also, and we scour the bushes for veterans that can do that sort of treatment, because we know how important it is to have a peer who understands what somebody has been through, so that they can relate to that same trauma. We have a number of peer support specialists that we work with too. They're not licensed clinicians, so they can't do behavioral health treatment, but they can meet with veterans and help offer other kinds of support. If there's specific veterans that you know of, they can get in touch with me and we can find them better treatment or more local treatment on a case-by-case basis.
With no disrespect, Mike or Matt, we've gone down this road before, and even with Bob and my relationship with Bob, if they got put on spin cycle and it was back to the same old stuff, they got referred to another person, and it's just more of the same, sir. And I mean no disrespect by that, but it's combat ineffective and certainly inefficient the way it's set up for these women.
And we do have an issue with the number of people looking for services and the number of providers we have. And that's the sort of thing we're trying to resolve. So I mentioned it earlier, our wait times are lower, but the way the VA works with staffing is that we get staffed later for the veterans we're seeing now. So we see veterans, we have to report that we saw these veterans, and then they make decisions about our staffing and our funding a year or so later. So our staffing is always kind of catching up to the veterans that we have. And I apologize for the lack of service that these veterans
You
are
don't have to
getting.
apologize to me. I'm
Globally.
Yeah.
If they could hear.
Yeah.
But we will certainly try to do better than we are doing.
We need better, another way to, like an ombudsman, so that we can call that person and say, this is an issue for this veteran, this woman, or this veteran, even male veterans, some of them, and a way to communicate rather than get put on spin cycle.
For this issue in particular, I'm sure, but we do have a patient advocate's office, and I'm not sure if that has been tried or not.
Yeah.
They're similar to an ombudsman.
Right. That's proven to be pretty ineffective, sir.
Has that been effective?
Yes, sir. To date.
I'm not familiar with.
I've got a couple of them, I'll send you then.
Okay, then do that. Then
Yeah,
that would
we'll
be-
see if we
that
can't
might
get them
work out
straightened
better.
out, because they deserve all the best. They struggled in a man's world as combat crew chiefs, did their job in combat zones, and they deserve to be heard, and they deserve the care that they're deserving of.
I agree, and I will do the best I can.
Thank you.
So very quickly, just not to put you at ease, but to make you aware, currently under active duty military, there's been a lot of initiative to get out in front of the sexual assault awareness and the harassment pieces within the military currently. They have victim advocates and sexual assault response coordinators that are working with our active and are still serving service members to ensure that if something does come up, that they're given the services immediately. And a reason for some of these people, they wait till they've left to file the complaints, and there's a lot of other things. So again, services are rendered as they're requested, right? So again, getting the word out through service members, through our transition assistance programs, making sure that people are identifying early, and if not immediately, about these traumas that they've been through, so they can be adjudicated while they're still in uniform, and provided resources and a way out, a pathway for their care as they leave, as part of lines of duty, as well as there are medical discharges being accomplished because of these types of things, so they're hooked up with benefits much sooner than later. So there are things that are taking place, but again, they've written regulations in the military for years, right? Have you ever known of one to have been precluded to an action taken by anybody? It's usually after the fact, right? Or we identify a problem and then we do it. So we got to keep the communication lines open and make sure we're doing it, but I think we are moving the needle to assist service members, and I want to be clear about that. The majority of MST is women, but there are many males affected by this as well. So let's make sure that we brief into existence these next programs. So thank you for bringing that up. Yes, sir.
Forgive me for standing while you're talking to him, but I'm afraid if I sit down, I'll get up. But this gentleman brought up a point, and he said that.
You're good.
You're good. He brought up the point of medical care. That's not the issue. Resources is the issue. Are they using the resources, like sending medical staff out to them from the VA? Because they won't come to the hospital because it'd be too obvious. But our politicians are not always on the up and up.
So, can you be more
Is the
specific?
Department of Veterans Affairs throughout the United States being told to use the resources for these I call them criminals because they cross the border without following the law. That's what makes a criminal.
As far as I know, no. So we have, our mission is to serve veterans that are healthcare eligible. There is a VA mission that's called the fourth mission. When there's a disaster, like when Hurricane Katrina happened, when there was a hurricane in Florida when I was down there, so VA is allowed to then serve civilians on a very temporary, very specific basis.
Yes, I
When there's a disaster. We're not giving our resources.
Okay, you've answered the question. That's
Okay.
sufficient.
All right.
Also, you have clinics that are closed in the hospital. I need supplies for my CPAP.
Yeah.
Okay, I have to go in, I have to call. You know, I have to call, it comes from California, it comes from Wyoming, but it comes a month later or 6 weeks later. That's not helping me any. We need that clinic open.
So the clinic for the pulmonary respiratory, so we have respiratory therapists on site.
The clinic needs to be
Right,
open.
so.
The clinic provides your mask, your supplies.
Yeah. So
And if you have a problem, they adjust whatever you need. We don't have that now.
So the clinic has to be open, it needs to have a medical provider in the clinic. So it's probably because we don't have the physician that we have hired yet for that. And specialty care providers like that are hard to hire in most places in Mexico.
Thank you.
I think I can bounce off of what his question was as far as that's concerned. I also suffer from sleep apnea. It is an inconvenience to order supplies. I can speak loud enough for you to hear me. I can understand his inconvenience for ordering supplies. The system is broken there as far as how you order it. As you call in, you leave a voicemail. There's no return of, hey, this is gonna come. It just all of a sudden shows up. Now, with that, they send you a card. And that card you can fill out, mail back in, and then they'll send you a year's worth. So, as far as the line of communication to the sleep center is concerned, it's not customer friendly. But it does serve its purpose. So I think, is that what I'm saying?
You can't adjust your machine.
Right.
It breaks down through the mail.
Right. So I think it's more of a line of communication that they're dealing with because they don't necessarily answer the phone. It's not easy to get to the sleep clinic, and then it's also not easy to get into the sleep clinic. I understand what he's saying. I worked at the VA as an IT person during the pandemic, and even at that time, it was difficult. So I think that's your line of communication. So
I'll look that back and see.
the other question, I know that you talked on wait times for mental health.
Yep.
Is there a different system other than the crisis line that people can get help? Because we've referred them from our office. I mean, we've called ambulances to take them away. But typically, if a veteran is in crisis, the only way they can be seen by the Beacon Clinic is if they go through the ER and then transfer through that way. That frustration level for veterans, especially when they're in crisis, that's terrible. That is absolutely horrible on them. And again, they leave us, I ask them, they're like, well, they wouldn't see me. They told me I had to go sit through the ER for a couple of hours, and they're melting down.
Right, so the way the crisis works is there's two parts to it. There's the crisis VA crisis line to call. And that then gets a referral to the medical center and somebody calls back usually within the next day for the veteran. But if the veteran is in a crisis immediately, they do go to our emergency department. Our emergency department has what you call Beacon service. It's a mental health, an emergency mental health service, so a veteran can be evaluated right at that time. But this is emergency care, so it is first come, first served. That's why it takes a long time.
Is there a different avenue? I mean, if I'm in crisis and I go to the ER and I'm melting down and I have to wait 2 hours, I'm walking out.
So
And then where am I at?
Yeah, it's a good point, and we actually, this is something we're trying to address, not just with mental health crisis, but with any medical crisis. A lot of time our veterans will come in. Sometimes our ER is not crowded at all, and there's two people there, and you walk in and you get seen right away, but sometimes it's a long time, and especially, for some reason right after holidays, the next days are very busy in our ER. And there might be a long wait, and veterans have left without being seen. We actually have a category in we do a daily report every day, and one of the categories is veterans left without being seen. And then we do our best to follow up to make sure that they do come back and get seen for what it is that they need. We are looking at, we wanted to do urgent care rather than a emergency care, which is less intense. The problem we have on our site is we don't have the space for this. If you know, our ER is in one corner, and then right around the corner is the Beacon building, and then right around the corner from that is our primary care, and all those spaces are filled up. And our long-range plan includes a lot of construction projects, which includes more space for services like that.
But on a short term, and I understand that this is also a manning issue, but on a short term, wouldn't a triage with a psychiatrist in the ER be something that they could use? I mean, if it's just a matter of seeing where they're at, if they need an emergency medication refill or something like that, if you're dying, I understand you get priority, but that still doesn't stop my process. Because, as you know, with the veteran suicide rate, they don't go to the VA because of what? Wait times. Or they get treated improperly according to their own issue. It's just a matter of, is there something that we could do to triage these people a little bit better? And even in the C-box or the rural areas where we're dealing with, PTSD doesn't live in the city, and MSD doesn't live in the city. It's just that I think that the mental health on a whole for veterans and access to mental health on a whole for veterans is falling short.
So you're suggesting sort of an ED just for mental health? Like like a fast track?
Yes. Yes.
Well, let me bring that back and let me see what.
Something that they can, because sometimes all it is a medication. I've been out of my meds for 30 days because I forgot that the mail is not the most optimal way. Yes, some sort of a triage.
Okay. All right, let me bring that back up. See what we can figure out. I got a question here.
My name is Gilbert Platero. I'm a member of the Navajo Nation. I'm also from, my mother's from Taos Pueblo Taos in northern New Mexico. Mr. Secretary, congratulations on your appointment. Comrades, welcome. Visitors, welcome. It's good to see all of you here. I have a question. I sit on the New Mexico Veterans Advisory Board. I advocate for the veterans of the state of New Mexico and also for the veterans of the Indian nations within the state of New Mexico, the Navajo Nation and the 19 pueblos of New Mexico. Within the Indian nations, there's always been a question and concern of transportation within the rural areas, the back roads of the reservation, the canyon areas way in the back where we have veterans that have no transportation or lack of transportation. And I guess my question, Mr. Secretary, is during this past legislative session that passed, was there a concern that went forward with the rural transportation for our Native Americans that, maybe not only our Native Americans, but all the veterans that are living in rural areas, to get them to and from VA appointments? We have a Native American Veterans Summit coming up at Red Rock Casino here and sponsored by the Navajo Nation. And I think that information would be greatly appreciated if that was passed on, if there was anything that went forward positively for these veterans that live in rural areas, not only from the Indian nations, but for all veterans throughout the state of New Mexico. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for the question. So the VA Highly Rural Transportation Grant that is in place until the end of June. Right now, we will be reapplying for the VA Highly Rural Transportation Grant. And I'll tell you that the definition of the VA doesn't fit New Mexico because they only see about 17 of our 33 counties as highly rural. Okay, and that really impacts obviously the Navajo Nation where they don't understand you know, the areas that we live based on their definition. So I brought that up already. I was in DC last week with the secretary and brought this up directly, and I'm working to redefine what highly rural means, specified for the state of New Mexico. Secondly, I did request additional funding from the state through the legislature to augment that program. So we define what highly rural means within the state and be able to augment our contractors out there to assure that. And that did go forward. Right now we're pending about $175,000 from the state legislature to augment that program that's already in place to assist with getting more contractors and availability for those veterans who have restricted or no transportation at all to continue this program forward.
Good morning, and congratulations on your appointment, Cabinet Secretary.
Thank you.
My name is Patrick Aragon. I'm the Benefit Services Manager for the Pueblo of Laguna. And something that has come across in time, you know, we've had the opportunity to work with a number of veterans for years, since 2012. And we're very grateful for the program we have. Not many tribes and pueblos have our program. We're unique. Our program started out kind of like a one-stop shop. We service veterans, we help people with Social Security, income support, unemployment. Our program is all over the place and it continues to grow. One of the biggest concerns I see is having veteran service officers in Native American communities in the state of New Mexico. And that's something we're looking at, you know, we want to look at closely, and we'd appreciate if you kind of take a look at that. Something that a lot of it goes back to funding, establishing these programs. I don't know if it'd be something you could look at as cost sharing. We're looking for grants. We're continuously looking at grants to supplement what we got because our program is tribally funded. So when we start looking at our yearly budgets, there are things, you know, it just depends how the tribe is looking at things. What can we cut or how we're going to allocate different funding to different programs. So something that has come across our table is getting those veteran service officers. We get a lot of people in our community from Laguna, veterans and their families, but we also assist those in Acoma. Our funding was strictly for the Pueblo of Laguna, but it's hard to say no to those families out there and those veterans out there, so we service a lot of those. We have two land grant communities which we service as well, the Cebolleta and Cubero. We also assist veterans from Trujillo. We have some down here in Albuquerque, as well as in the grants area. So, you know, we're kind of all over the place, and we know that the services we provide, they tie into a lot of the family dynamic with Social Security needs, income support, so we continue to assist. Right now, we're in the process of trying to hire another individual to assist us. I have my colleague here, Christine Sarcino, and we've been doing this for quite some time. So we probably together, we have about 15 years of experience. So that's something that hopefully you can address or look at and maybe look at possible grant opportunities for those Native American communities.
Thank you. And just a quick update on that. I know that Robin Wilson went out and met with the community about some of your concerns. And as a field services director, she oversees our VSOs. We are looking right now at the definition in 38 CFR, which is a federal regulation, on how we are able to assist with your training. Right now, we are offering to fund the training for tribal VSOs to accomplish getting them on the accredited system through the VA. Okay, we are doing outreach and making sure that the tribal governments, as we have new governors and they start with new staff, that the turnover and the priorities remain the same, that we can actually make sure that the VSOs, when they are appointed by the governors, that they stay in place and we have some longevity. Because, you know, changing every 1 to 2 years, new people coming in and going out, that creates a lot of additional churn that is, I think, unintended. It's just because we're not informing people of some of the choices that they're affecting. So we're trying to get out, and I'm trying to meet with all the tribal governments to ensure that they understand the impact some of their decisions are having on the larger population. so we can actually move the VSO training forward and assist you in getting them authorized within every Pueblo, nation, and reservation. So that way, we have an ombudsman there for them and assist them with the claims. But in absence of that, we do have some of our VSOs that do move to these areas, and if you're getting overrun by claims and requests that you reach out and we can do a push to assist you, to help you with especially the veteran-specific claims, so we can help tie into some of those other social services.
Dave Ware with Humphrey Veterans in Gallup. I don't think anybody knows where it's at, but it's west of here. My actual crime is we have a really large transient veteran population. When we get them, they're already in distress. Like this gentleman over here was saying, who do we call? I call a local clinic because I need a counselor, and I talked to you a while ago. The phone at the clinic is on ignore. You call the clinic in Gallup, he goes to Albuquerque. Tell the operator in Albuquerque what I need. He sends me right back to the same phone in Gallup that just keeps doing this. And I think they're doing it in Santa Fe also. You guys that speak up, because it's happening at your clinics, and I don't know why. Yeah, see, that's something that this gentleman didn't know, because we don't speak up. I used to be able to call the VA, and then all their numbers changed. Some of them won't return my phone call because they think I just bitch. But when you have a veteran crisis, you need help. I call the VA clinic, I go to Albuquerque, they send me back, and I'm there 2 hours doing this. I walk up to the clinic to get the counselor that I need. I can't reach her because she's in the back office. Finally got her to come out. We got the gentleman handled. Okay? All we need is a little bit of understanding, because I can't walk to my VA hospital like you can here in Albuquerque. Here in Albuquerque, it's across the street. Where I live, we're 150 miles from the VA emergency room. Sometimes we call the emergency room, we call the hospital, veteran in crisis. How do we do this? They can't help me. They send her right back to the clinic, or they just say, well, get him to Albuquerque. The Vic used to have come and get them sometimes. They can't do that anymore because I don't think they have funding. We're hoping through Albuquerque Christian Hospital, our hospital won't take them. They don't have room or providers. Indian Health won't take them. They don't have room. So we're stuck with no support. And it would really be nice if people that are at the top would get away from their desk, go out in the community, see what is actually happening out there, so they know what's going on. I asked this gentleman, why are my phones at the clinic on ignore? He didn't even know it. And he's at the top, so you better start checking the bottom, make sure they're telling you what's going on, because I don't know why we're on ignore, and we shouldn't be. We should be able to contact that hospital. All I'm asking for, consider us who live outside of Albuquerque. Yeah. That's all I'm asking.
No, I totally agree with you, and I'm surprised to hear that the phones are like that. So one of the main complaints that I hear is that people don't answer the phones. But saying that when you dial directly to their lines, and there's a lot of reasons, maybe they're just not at their desk or whatever it is, but say that the phone is on ignore and just gets bounced back and forth, I think that really should not be happening.
Well, I asked the guy I went to the clinic, I asked that gal, I said, why would you answer your phone? She said it hasn't rang. And I go, I just called her and I showed her 7 calls. And I said, when was the last time your phone rang? She says, 4 days ago.
So I've been to all the clinics. I do a couple of times a year, I'll go out to all the clinics to see what's going on. And they're generally pretty quiet places. Now I'm starting to think that maybe the phones are broken. Because if nobody's calling, they don't know that you've been calling.
Well, they don't take urgent care, they don't take anything in those clinics.
Well, they're very small clinics, mostly, except Rio Rancho's a bigger clinic. Northwest Metro is what we call it. And they didn't answer the phone there?
So if it's referred to Santa Fe. If you call the main number, which it reverts to the VA hospital and then it's boosted to Santa Fe. You've got a call center essentially.
Right, I understand the call center part of it, but if you're trying to reach somebody specifically, I think.
Nobody will, sir, not usually.
All right, I'm gonna look into that today.
American Legion State Chaplain, and I think my first question, I have more than one, is addressing home cleaning care. So I understand in Santa Fe there have been some volunteers to assist, and they get a list and they can go out and help some of the people that can't clean their homes. I also know that there's home care aides that assist with getting you in and out of chairs, maybe helping you wash your body, maybe feeding you. But I would care to know how many people, once they reach a certain age or have a certain disability, cannot clean the home. And there's more hands, they won't raise them up. So what I'm looking for is maybe a collaboration between DVS and the VA to see if we can get more free home cleaning care for people. The dust is growing, you know, the floors need to be mopped and that kind of thing. And just to make people feel that besides giving them the personal care, that you would give them care for their homes, because they don't want to see their homes fall apart. Does that make sense? Yeah. That is my first question.
Okay,
Collaboration?
So there's obviously going to be collaboration.
Yes.
But again, I need everybody to understand the difference between the state veteran services. All right, we are not a service provider other than our VSO's direct care to everybody and what we do in our cemeteries, that we provide those services. We are a liaison or an advocate to ensure that services that do exist, that they're, one, communicated, and two, how we can help to expand on those or make them available. So my promise to you is I will go back and find out about these and get the information from you after this, find out who's providing these services and what the requirement is, again, the demand signal for that, and how we can help facilitate the discussion if it's a VA-funded program or if it's just other nonprofits that are in the area doing that, they are the service providers. Those are things that we need to probably understand more of, and that's why this is so important today, is because we all know somebody that does something for veterans out there, but they're doing it possibly a lot of replicated efforts everywhere. And my job as a synchronizer, as a secretary, to bring these services together, understand what the requirements are, and start setting priorities so we can help bring all of us together to get at the problems that we have for veterans. Because I think there's so many of us doing all the same things in different directions, and we're pulling everything apart instead of us coming together and getting after it. So that's my promise to you. Other than the collaboration and getting educated myself, and passing that information along to ensure that these programs are amplified.
Thank you.
Cabinet Secretary, if I could add, to help answer your question, with the DAV, we have what is called the LVET program, Local Veterans Assistance Program, and those are volunteers that meet with your veterans, and some of your VSOs probably have the same thing, just called a different name, but go to lunch with them, take them grocery shopping, just visit with them. That's a volunteer program, so maybe the house cleaning could fall under that. That's all I have. Thank you.
I think you're addressing a need though also that you
Yes,
often don't see, is that the need just for day-to-day activities. VA doesn't have a program specifically for that. I think the idea for volunteers doing that is a great idea, but VA does have two programs. One's called a caregiver support program, so that if there are veterans with their caregivers, the VA can provide support to the caregiver, maybe free them up then so they can get some sort of compensation so they don't have to work, and then they can better care for the veteran at home and clean up maybe also. And also a new program we're starting, or we're rather expanding, is called our Veteran-Directed Care, which is very similar to our caregiver support program. And what I would like to do is, I don't know if there's like an email group for all of you to be on. I could send information about these programs on a regular basis.
Send it to us. And
we'll push. We'll do that. So that'll be probably the best way to get it.
Okay. If I could expand on the Veteran-Directed Care Program, so that is basically having a family member or somebody, a friend of the family that basically is compensated for assisting and taking care of a veteran who requires that care in their own home and to assist them. That program is actually administered by the Aging and Long-Term Care Services by the state of New Mexico with partnership through the VA grant. So I'm also getting involved in that program to ensure that our veterans are priority. And how many of you knew of that program before hearing about it today?
What's it called?
It's a veteran-directed care program. That's my point. I think we have about 6 people in the state utilizing it. Okay, so more information to follow on that. Brett?
Yeah, I apologize. Going on that, we've had some issues with let me rephrase that. We have encountered people who have had problems with the caregiver program through the VA, not in New Mexico, not this one that we're talking about, where it's a denial after denial after denial that we have to take it to the Board of Veterans Appeals. Is there some process that they're working to get this fixed? I know that the DAV on a national level in DC is catching these and putting them in the face. I don't know if it's the Secretary of the VA or who it is, but unless they have a service-connected disability, they're not getting the care that they need. There are many veterans out here who are elderly that are not disabled or service-connected that are not receiving this care.
Yes, though I don't have the specifics for the caregiver support. If I had I can send all that out. And so if somebody does get denied, they're allowed to do an appeal.
Right.
For the services. But the veteran-directed care is sort of a gap, fill in the gaps of that service also.
Because when we submit an appeal, even on a caregiver appeal to the board, that's a 3 to 5 year wait to see a judge. Are you aware of that?
I'm not familiar with that program.
So that's what I'm saying. When you tell me that they've been denied and I have to send it to an appeal, I'm sending it to the Board of Veterans Appeals. That's 3 to 5 to see the judge. After seeing the judge, you've got at least another year before you get an adjudication.
Well, and I'm hoping that the veteran-directed care program will fill in the gaps for a person like that.
Is that what that program is trying to do?
It's very similar, but it's not administered through the VA. It's administered through the Department of Aging Services. Right. Correct.
So that is not a service-connected service that they apply for?
So I'm not smart enough yet to talk to that directly, right? So we owe you some information. That's why I'm telling you that these exist out there. Secondly, and I'm going to ask this of everybody, it's great that everybody has a national, and everybody's going to DC, and you're meeting and greeting, and you're shaking hands with all of our congressional delegation. All emergencies, all disasters are local. If you are sending an appeal to a national board from the DAV for your person, and then the American Legion is sending an appeal through their person, through their national, everybody's talking about it at the national level. We're not aware of it here in the state of New Mexico. This is what we're trying to get done. So when you have an issue like that, before you have a denial, get the information there, because there are a lot of other resources that I think a lot of people aren't aware of, that there's free legal possibilities for our veterans that can be serviced. And I think we're shouldering a lot of this stuff, and we're pushing things up our national channels to fix a local problem.
And I agree 100% with you. I mean, it's great that you guys have stood this program up. It's a great way for people to get a good return for their care. It's just some of it has to go national. It can't come to the state. I can't always bring something to the state because it is the VA.
But what I am asking you to do is keep a track of all these issues.
Absolutely.
Keep us informed, and we can help you to help facilitate some of those things at the national level. I am an advocate for you and all your issues. At the state level, we can generate a lot more discussion here to get to the Cordell, probably a little more efficiently than going to national, and national going to them. And because New Mexico's cases are getting mixed in with California's and Texas, and I mean, we're getting lost in the sauce. So that's why I want to make sure we have visibility here. Let's understand what the problems were. That way we can get after these things, and I can help carry that water for you guys at the national level.
And that's great. And those resources being advertised publicly through whatever, the DVS site or something.
Right.
I mean, I'm not opposed to pointing in this direction. I don't have an allegiance to anybody other than veterans. So
all I'm saying is that if we have visibility sooner, and we're aware of the issues that you're pushing at national at all levels from all the organizations, we can help speak the same language. Because again, Mr. Berdine said it earlier, there's truth in lending and there's power in numbers. And if we're talking at the state levels, there's a National Department of Veteran Services Directors Committee that goes out there and they lobby as well. So the more we're saying the problems that we're encountering, the more people are prone to listen, other than just from VSOs and everybody else. Yes, ma'am.
All right, this question is directed more towards the VA. I find that with community care, there seems to be a big lapse in continuing their service, such as, let's say you're getting physical therapy, you have 9 visits, and the next referral to get additional care doesn't go until after the 9th visit. It could take anywhere from 5 weeks to 2 months before that veteran gets to go back into physical therapy and get that approval, go back into therapy, and there is a relapse in that time. So the veteran isn't getting as much help as they could if that continuation of referral was done earlier, let's say the 7th visit, so that the provider already knows that you're gonna need more treatment. And the indications in the notes will say that the veteran is having some improvement. But most of the time, by the time they get back into, example, physical therapy, they've fallen back again. Is there anything that's being addressed with that?
Actually, there is. It's funny you bring that up. We are addressing, we understand we do have 8 deficiencies in our community care program. And we are addressing them even as we speak. We're going through the processes that they use and making sure we're doing them the correct way and the most efficient way, because of what you're just describing. One of our main goals is to make sure there is no lapse in care, because that's costly. And somebody goes through their physical therapy or whatever their care is, and then it stops, and then they go back to square one again. And we have to start all over again. It doesn't make any sense. So we understand, I don't know that specific one, but we do understand that these inefficiencies are being addressed, and we're trying to make sure that we're follow things the right way. Now, there might be some regulations about it. You can only make the referral at a certain time. But I'm sure that that's not the case where you have to wait till one service is over before you refer for another one. It seems like that's not correct.
You're talking about 2 different services, like, let's say acupuncture or massage therapy. No, I'm just saying that one particular modality is held up because you're waiting for the approval.
Right. Because
it goes in late. I mean, by the time the notes go in, it's over. And what you're saying is absolutely correct, that it will be, you're falling back and you're going back to square one. So then you have your possibility of the veteran having to go to the emergency room because of that lack.
Yeah, we were looking at, me and the executive leadership team were looking at the Care in the Community program and seeing these inefficiencies. And it's amazing now, we do things a certain way just because we've always done things that way. And we aren't thinking of innovative ways to do things. And I see a lot of room for improvement.
The general already said there's time for change.
I totally agree.
Mm-hmm. My third question, I'm not sure we can answer, but I'll try. Has the PAC Act actually looked at the exposure that could have been done to children?
I will have to get back to you on that. I think that it does have a provision. Ira, do you know the answer to that question?
Yes, sir. Actually, excuse me, I just got over the morning. The PACT Act, initially, the conditions that were initially recognized, there were like 26. That's grown up to 196. So as time goes by, there's more and more conditions that are coming out. And there is a provision for family members as well. Even posthumously claims that are going in, but family members are being recognized to have secondary conditions to exposure.
We could send out the information about how to access that specifically.
Yeah, I'll get that to Robin, and then she can get it out.
Okay, yeah, because I know about the survivors benefits and you know, being able to be as a dependent or whatever, but not for the children themselves.
Right. And there's certain conditions, by the Goodwill.
Right, right.
Agent noise exposure, but, there's a limited amount right now, but it continues to grow over time.
Okay, thank you.
Seventh Street, there is discussion about environmental issues, that basically that because of the person being there. So like you said, there's so much discussion going on now. The PACT Act is fixing to grow again, and we're going to confuse ourselves for the next 2 months about what's included, what's not, what's presumptive and what's not, and then we'll get back on the horse again until the next change. Last question.
Thank you for showing up. Jeffrey Stephen Archuleta, Archie, I work for the county. Thanks to VA for what you're doing. I'm very happy with what you all do for my father and myself, so kudos to setting it up at the state level too. I don't know if anybody who knows there's a ballot initiative on the ballot in June for veterans property tax exemption. Show of hands. It's a good showing. Anyway, I just wanted to give you an update that was passed thanks to the Military Family Caucus. It's a real awesome organization, so spread the word. Basically, it's going to be based on your service-connected pension. Whoever's disabled is going to be that much less. If you're 50% service-connected, that means you're going to pay 50% less on property taxes. So pass the word out. Let's get everybody out to support that. I'm sure we'll do fine. Thank you.
So we had, this was already waiting.
All right.
The last one, last question. This question was answered.
Okay. All right, I think it's time I just needed to wrap up so we get kicked out of here. I think this was a productive discussion, exchange of information, and I think doing this quarterly will certainly broaden our aperture and understand this. But please, I'm asking the veteran service organizations and anybody else to make sure you pass the information as it exists, okay? You know, from the tribes, pueblos, if you see something, say something right away, get it to my email so we can start addressing the issues. Let's not wait till the quarterly update to get at some of these issues, because again, every day a veteran waits for services is a day too long. So let's make sure, let's keep communication lines open, and where there's issues, please identify those, okay? Thank you all for being here.